Hey fam, welcome. This is it, the final one. Look at that glorious hotkey wall. This is everything we've covered. Pretty intense. For this last class challenge, we're going to make our custom die. Again, two separate approaches. You can either Boolean a cube, Boolean into each side using these custom shapes that I've already brought in, or making your own, or importing one of your own that you made in a previous lesson, and then using a Boolean modifier up here on the right to then cut into that shape. That's one way to get a whole cube. The other approach is to do each individual face of the cube, and then so we add a Boolean modifier to this, cut into it, make sure to make a copy for later. So we'll Boolean into this one, we'll Boolean something else into that one, and then when you print it, you'll have to take a second step and either like hot glue gun or super glue all of the different faces together. Now the last hotkey that I'd like to introduce you to is Shift Tab, which is snaps, which is actually down here on the menu bar. If you press Shift Tab right now, you'll see that magnet gets colored and loses color. So the colored means it's on. To the right of it, you can decide how things will snap. I don't usually use these two. I know there are cases where, or these three. I don't usually use these three. I know there are cases where you can use them, but I normally use vertex or increment. Increment actually has your object or selection snapped to whatever the spacing is of your grid here. Now if you change this setting, cut. This setting here decides whether it's exactly to the grid or if it's just to the spacing of the grid. So with this off, if I don't use snapping there, so like my object is now just off the grid without the absolute grid alignment, I use snapping. Now it's just going to use that spacing and not necessarily snap to the grid that is here, where if I turn it on, now I'm snapping to the grid. And for vertex, when I use the arrows, if I hover over another object, you'll see that orange circle show up, and that's telling me which vertex I'm snapping to. This is covered in vertexes down here. So those can help with aligning your objects to these faces to have the Boolean properly. Keep it increment. The last thing is setting like how it snaps. I usually use active. So whatever was the last thing I selected, it's going to use that to snap to. So with both of these selected and using vertex snap, if I hover here, it's using that last object's origin point to snap. If I were to go into edit mode and select faces, it's going to use, let's see, I have both of these faces selected, but it's going to utilize only this face, like this face's origin point. Use snaps, not necessarily the top face. Or if I switch it, so last selection was this one, now it's going to use that one instead. I'm going to now import one of my old projects to Boolean with. We go up to File, Import. Now we exported some OBJs before, so I'm going to import my OBJ. I'm going to do the skull. That has even still got his golden texture. I'm going to realign my origin point to the geometry. I'm actually going to cut into this one. Already got a Boolean. I just need to use this eyedropper. Click my skull. Box will disappear, so I'm going to change this to different so it shows back up. And now I'm going to use my snaps to get the increment. Top view with 7. There. Nicely. So now it's kind of stuck in the center, but switch to vertex and just snap it right to the top vertex here. Interesting. Okay, trying to Boolean it. Yeah. So because the Boolean modifier was already applied, it wasn't letting me use that edge as a snapping point. Actually, you can already see the geometries being cut into the cube. I'm actually going to make the skull larger, but remove the z-axis. Press Y. This is the first face of my cube. Alright fam, I'm excited for you guys to create your own die. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace, peace.
冰瓦